If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real-life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of the Gnaw on This Business Bites. I'm Ben and this is Syya. And thank you guys coming back week after week. This week, let's talk about all remote workforces. Now, the thought process behind this, everybody sits there and goes, oh my God, everybody's going to be remote. We can't handle this. We're not going to have the culture. We're going to be disjointed and we're not going to be able to communicate, etc. I go, guess what? People have had all remote workforces for years. I have a buddy of mine who's got 50 employees. He's always in Mexico or Guatemala or South America somewhere. He's got people in Europe. He's got people in Asia. He's got people in Amsterdam. Most of these people meet once, maybe twice a year, maybe every other year. Heck, they did. None of them met during the COVID. And it works. And I want to talk about why it works, what doesn't work, what we need to be thinking about, and how we can make it better. So, Syya, let's gnaw on this.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm itching to talk about this. This is like very near and dear to my heart for the last 25 years, to be honest. I do not understand. It took the pandemic for businesses to understand you can still be productive without holding each other's hands in the office and singing Kumbaya. Now I understand. Of course, there are certain tasks that you must physically be there, right?
Absolutely.
You must physically be there to, reroute, cabling and all that stuff. You got to fix plumbing. You got hands, manual labor type stuff. 100% you need to physically be there. However, if your predominant job is to touch a software application, you do not physically need to be anywhere. And that's the whole point of contention I have, is seeing this shift. Even technology companies now are saying you need to go back to the office. And it pisses me off. I'm pissed off. I am pissed off to hear this, because a lot of businesses increased profitability and their revenue during the pandemic. So what the F, people?
Well, I mean, if you take a look at technology, I remember the days of dial-up. I remember in the 1980s where you had the 2400 baud modem or the 9600 baud modem. You had that wonderful sound trying to connect, and then trying to deal with people online was impossible. It was near impossible. In the first days of online conferences and online trade shows, 20 years ago, when people sit there, oh, that's cool, we can do this. We can, get 30 megabytes per second. Guess what? The technology is way different. My download right now is 700 megabits per second. My upload is over 100 on a consistent basis. There's absolutely nothing I can't do here online. Downloading big files, being able to share things, being able to video conference with a large group of people. The technology is there because we've been able to grow as a society. And it's not just the technology. The technology is an enabler. But the big thing we need to be thinking about is, how do we make this work for everybody? And being able to sit there and say, how do we make people feel that they are listened to, understood, they're valued, that their opinion matters, and the work that they do is relevant, and is recognized? Because that's what the big thing is with all remote cultures, is being able to sit there and say, look, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what time zone you're in. I want to be able to hear you. I want to be able to understand you. I want to be able to value you as a human being. And when people understand that, they're willing to work and be able to do different things. And it allows them to be more productive, more, to ideate better. And there's a whole bunch of things that are possible because of the remote access. And you know what? Yes, there are things that as you said, there are places and times where we need to bring people together. There are places and times where we need to have physical connection with each other. It's important. But to just say, hey, listen, we need to bring people back together because we need to bring people back together, that argument doesn't hold any water anymore.
Well, there's no culture behind it, right? I mean, okay, look, if you want people to be together, then you must have a culture of a community within your own organization. Okay. And I'm thinking back, and I get it. I've been telecommuting for 20 years. Okay. So I have a bias, right? Mm-hmm. But the few times when we did get together again, we wanted to physically be there. We relished the opportunity to be together because the culture supported it, right? The company had call it a vibe, right? Where you physically want to be there. Perfect example. And I don't know if it's necessarily the case now. I haven't talked to those guys in years, but Zappos, okay? They had a corporate culture where every single person was encouraged to dress up their cubicle.
Absolutely.
They were encouraged to be creative, to solve problems and tell about it. I mean, I remember walking around their facilities in downtown Old Town Vegas. And let me tell you, I was like, they had a room that was just for like plants. And they had plants hanging from the wall. And it was for you to meditate, zone out, and get all the fresh oxygen. I mean, it was just incredible to me. And then also they knew they were a startup. They knew they were asking a lot of their employees. They rented out space and had apartments that if you needed to go to sleep and spend the night or whatever, you could go up there. Now, I've never witnessed it myself, never saw if it actually got used or not. But I remember laughing with the person that gave me the tour. And I was like, dude, that looks like a dorm room party place. And they're like, yeah, some weekends it can be. And I'm like, well, that's kind of fun. I mean, but wouldn't you rather your people, if they're partying up in Vegas, go there and just pass out and be safe?
And you know they're safe. And that's the big thing is I remember a week after that downtown Vegas location opened up and getting a tour of it. And it was the feeling that you got, that you felt that you were coming home. You felt that you were part of something. And you know what? That's great. If companies are willing to put that type of effort to sit there and say, we're bringing you together on a regular basis because we need you to do this. We need to be able to have this particular purpose, this vision, this ideation, this reason. Great. We need to have you guys all together. Amazing. I love it. And they've got to be the right execution behind it. But the thing is, we don't need to have people together all the time in order to do that. Yeah. So a friend of mine just took his entire staff and they rented, a Verbo for a week, this enormous house down in Mexico, and brought everybody together from all over North America. And they had a week together where they barbecued and they drank and they surfed and they worked.
Yeah.
And what they did is they got people that during the pandemic had been brought in the company who had never met each other, and they got to actually meet each other, and they actually got to be with each other, and they got to talk to each other and do things together and be able to create ideas and things that where they will work together. But they realize, okay, we're bringing people together for a purpose and a reason. Now we can bring them back out into the field. They can do their things, and maybe quarterly, maybe semi-annually, maybe yearly, but we're definitely doing this again. Mm-hmm. And we need to be able to bring those times where we can bring people together, and we need time where we can have people apart, because that's what works for our culture. That's what works for our people. That's what works for our clients. Yep. And it has to be something that we're sitting there going very purposely, we're doing this because, and these are the reasons, and this is the value that it adds.
You reminded me of my buddy, and I just had to make sure that he's like, still there. Obviously he is, it's his company, but I want to give a shout out to my friend, Steve over at OpsWorks. He does exactly that. He goes and flies out all the employees in America to the Philippines, because he has a Philippines group as well. And they go to an island somewhere, rents out the entire island for the entire company. He invites the spouses. Now he doesn't allow, I don't think they do children because, obviously they want to keep it adult, but they bring the spouses over and they want to do an appreciation to say, hey, spouses, you are very much involved in this company as much as your spouse that's working physically at the company, because you support their efforts. And he's done so many cool little things. It wasn't simply just work stuff. They literally had like counselor types to just talk about relationship, like if, just to work things out. And it gets deeply personal, and they don't broadcast it to everyone, but they give them resources where if someone's open to, couples counseling or just communication between teams, counseling and all that stuff. I mean, it was just, to me, such outside the box thinking. I think you and I referred back to it in our other episode when we were talking about money, right?
Yes.
It's more than just money. Those types of perks, right? Where the spouse is appreciated and the company recognizes that, where they recognize your mental health is important. Let's talk about that. That to me is invaluable. And
go ahead.
And again, maybe if you have a remote team, maybe you do those types of investments. Why would you sink all that money into a lease on a property if it doesn't serve a better purpose? I don't see the return on investment, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Right. But the thing is you can't just have your people remote and not support them. You need to support them in the field. You need to sit there and say, as a team, as individuals, what do you need from your leaders, from your CEO, from each other to be able to make sure that it's successful? So I think that's a great place to leave this, because there is a lot of opportunity there. And I think that if we sit there and say, okay, there is no one solution, how do we make this work for our people? I think that that's the best way that we need to think about it in business going forward.
Oh, I 100% agree. I cannot tell you, there is opportunity in embracing this type of change and work environment. It's coming. That's what I think. I don't think there's an option. It's coming. It's going to be something your company has to address and have a plan for and prepare for it. I don't think there's an option not to.
Hey, thanks for gnawing on this with us, everybody. We're Ben and Syya. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me, Syya, at innovationmediaenterprises.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites.